So, Jackson, welcome to the Wise Immigrant podcast by Miss Immigrant USA. And thank you so much for joining us today. We are very happy and honored to have you and to give you a stage and a chance as well to the audience to learn about you, about your story, your work, and why did you decide to run for Congress?
Well,
So,
thank you so. Yeah, go
yes,
ahead.
your turn.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I greatly appreciate it. Here in Indiana, our election day is in 2 days, which is May 5th, which is crazy for me to say because I've been running this campaign, being a candidate for more than a year and a half at this point. So the fact that we're like so close to election day is that someone pinched me on election day. It's finally here, but this is the last push, last couple days. But yes, I'm Jackson Franklin. I'm running for Congress in Indiana's 5th congressional district. So it's kind of like central east Indiana ish. It's like the 6 counties northeast of Indianapolis. So Indianapolis is right in the middle of the state. And I'm running to make sure that the working class people of this country have a voice in Congress. I'm an Army combat medic. I deployed overseas. As someone in the military, I'm very against what's going on in Iran right now and all the conflicts. I have friends over in the Middle East right now. I'm also a paramedic that has worked on the ambulance. And I've seen too many times people get on my ambulance not wanting to go to the hospital because it's too expensive. So I'm fighting alongside Senator Bernie Sanders, AOC, and many others to make sure that healthcare is treated as the human right that it is, and fight to expand Medicare to a Medicare for all system and include dental, vision, and hearing. And as well, I mentioned this, immigrant rights. We have an administration that is greatly harming our immigrant communities. ICE has been around since 2003, and in my opinion, it was made to be a racist institution to try to scare people, coming into this country and the people that are in this country. I actually was just assaulted by the police because I was at an anti-ICE protest, peaceful protest, and trying to speak out about this issue. So it's something I'm very passionate about, as well as getting money out of politics. I'm very happy to say that I'll never take any corporate PAC money like many other, campaigns and like politicians you'll see in DC. We're not raising money from Wall Street. We're trying to work for Main Street, the working class, not the donor class, as I say. Yeah.
Thank you for this introduction. That's pretty much summarize what I learned about you from your other interviews and your videos. But we are a little bit different. Here we would like to know who is Jackson and what shaped you. And as well, I learned that you are like one of the youngest ever candidate to run for Congress. So where Jackson come from? Where did you grow up? Who was your, I mean, is your family, your heritage? How are you connecting to the American and immigrant story in all this?
Yeah, so I'm actually a triplet as well. So all J's. So if you see someone going around that looks like me that says something you don't like, it wasn't me. That was them. No, I'm just kidding.
So
Uh,
do you mean you have two more brothers looking like you?
yes, yeah. So it
Wow.
goes Jared, Jackson, and Julian,
Wow.
and we're all in the army. All happy to be like civic servants and trying to uplift our communities. I grew up born in Muncie, grew up in a very tiny town called Albany, and then moved back to Muncie. Uh, you know, I don't know, it's a proud union home. My dad worked at GM, UAW, for 27 years until he recently passed away a few months ago.
I'm
My
so
mom was a
sorry.
nurse.
Wow.
I appreciate it. My mom was a nurse until taking care of triplets is a lot of tasks. So she did the incredible job. Strongest woman I've ever known in my entire life. My mom, and of course raising triplets as well as two other kids. I have an older brother, older sister, and I never thought I was going to be a candidate someday, but I've always been like, very inclined to help out my community. I've helped out a lot of like civic engagement, activist communities, other campaigns. Uh, I went to American Military University studying American history. Someday I want to become a American history teacher. So maybe when I'm Bernie Sanders' age, finally getting back into what I
Maybe
wanted.
hopefully earlier.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully get back to that. But yeah, I deployed overseas to Kosovo, which is a country in the Balkans, old Yugoslavia, and we were there. American soldiers have been there, and NATO has been there since 1998, since the genocide that was ongoing there. And I'm very proud of my service in the military. I was deployed for COVID orders. So when the pandemic happened, I was, sent to Pendleton Prison, which is in my district, Madison County, because it's just when all the guards and most of the incarcerated people there have COVID and they're sick, it gets unsafe for everybody because no one's there watching, no one's there to like give you lunch and all that stuff like that. Making sure that there's security for all people. So we went in there as a state of emergency. I was also mobilized to Florida for the Hurricane Milton that happened a couple years ago, and we dropped off aid, and so I'm very proud of my military service as well as many other operations. I don't have to list off every single one, but yeah, I'm just very happy to help out and stand up for working people.
How many years did you serve?
I'm still in. I'm 7 years so far, but I intend to stay in. I want to stay in for 20. We'll see how it goes.
And thank you for your service.
You're worth it. Yeah.
Yes, that's for such a young individual like yourself, that's pretty amazing and envy you. And once again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm 26 years old. You mentioned like yeah, I'm probably one of the youngest candidates, like congressional candidates, in the whole nation. Kat Abu-Ghazaleh out of Chicago's ninth district, who was just recently running, same age as me. Like I think we're like within a month of each other. And there's like Maxwell Frost, Congressman Maxwell Frost was, I think he's a couple years older than me. So he was the first person of my generation, Gen Z, to be elected to Congress. So he's paved that path.
Mhm.
He was younger than I am now when he was first sworn in, and so yeah, just trying to, young people. I'm not trying to say like, oh yeah, get rid of all the old people in Congress or anything like that. We're not asking for the whole table. We're asking for a seat at that table, proportional representation. And the establishment will tell us young people all the time, oh, you're the future of this party, or you're the future of this nation. And my thought is, aren't we the current of this party, of this nation as well? Like, do we not have kids? Do we not go to war for this country? Do we not pay taxes? Do we not like helping out right now? Like, we're not waiting for our turn. It's our turn right now to have a voice. It's a democracy. Like we vote, so making sure that just proportional representation and a healthy democracy with, perhaps some fresh ideas on things. I grew up in the generation of a public school education system that all we know, is like school shooter drills and, underpaid, educational staff and like school meals being way too expensive. So these are some of the things that are on my mind and how I will legislate once in Congress.
Yes. And can you share with the audience, because we like to educate them, how old you need to be in order actually to run?
You have to be 25 years old. You can start running as soon as you want, but you have to be 25 by the time you swear in. So by the time like you won your election and the day of like you like day one on the job, you have to be at least 25 years old.
Okay. And how would you encourage the young uh, people who are just starting their lives to get involved in actually in the civic activities?
Yeah, so if you don't use your voice, you lose it. Democracy is not a spectator sport. We don't have the privilege of sitting this one on the sidelines. And I always say if you don't do politics, politics will do you. It doesn't, if you don't get involved, then other people will be making these very important decisions, on your life. So just getting involved. Now, you don't exactly have to run for Congress. You can, but it starts at the local level. It's the grassroots level. Whether it's being a small time activist, helping out, or just that little community activist, helping out your community at the soup kitchen, mutual aid, running for smaller positions. Like county clerk, PC, state delegate. All these things build up to a massive movement, and know that you're not alone. And if you want to build a system, a brighter future, you can just get involved. I started my race, well, like started our campaign just because I saw a vacancy and people speaking out for the issues that I cared about. So I wasn't going to wait around for somebody else to never do it or do it too late. So if you see that gap and that need for your community for a voice to step up, then perhaps it's you that should step up. Don't wait for your turn. In politics and in democracy, the people decide that. So getting involved any way you can, it's organizing, it's getting people together for a common vision, and that's how we're going to change this nation and change this world.
That's that's great. We believe immigrant identity is not only about the legal status. It's about the roots, the family, culture, courage, about belonging. What does immigrant identity means to you?
It means immigrant identity to me means like holding the values that you have with you through the disparity that you will face. I mean, especially in a country such as America, you know, don't let them beat you down. Like, you have your family, you have your people, and that's very important. And it's a huge life lesson that guides you forward. And it's your North Star, your roots and where you come from, your values on how you see the world and experience the universe. So don't let them whittle that down. Like, be proud, be very, vocal about your experiences, and just know, like, when people come to America, oftentimes, in my opinion, they are more American in ideology than a lot of people that are here right now that, were born here and have lived here for, who knows how long. But if they have the values of like what the vision of what this country was supposed to be founded upon, of like equal rights, treating people with dignity, democracy, a nation, among nations, not a nation above nations, shared people and shared understanding. And so, yes, having these experiences and these values are very important, and it brings up society. It doesn't, contrary to what you might hear across this country, uh, it helps us. It, shares experiences, and it builds us up to be a stronger people altogether. So very proud of the immigrant communities across this nation. And we live in dark times right now, of course, but there is light at the end of the tunnel if you choose to see it. There is positive things that are happening across this country, people coming together and standing up for justice. So just keep your head held high and know that change is coming.
Do you have an immigrant story in your family, or maybe community or personal life, that shaped how you see America?
So I see a lot of different stories. Now, like, me personally, uh, I don't really know my roots all that well. Of like, way back then, I didn't really know my great grandparents all too well and all this. But as far as immigrant communities, I've talked to thousands of, immigrant friends and, people in the community, and they're touching. So I bring these with me. I live, carry these with me every single day. And of course, I see the news as well. I see all, everything online as well. So, one of my friends, Ziad, he's from the West Bank, Palestine, and the amount of discrimination coming to the hardships faced, and struggling like fighting through the hardships to do what's right by your family. And of course, you have American racism that has never gone away, truly. And fighting through that, and also through the calamity of what's going on in the Middle East right now, is trying to the hardships back home, dealing with systemic inequalities here in America, and it's really it's a lot of stress. It's a lot to a lot of pressure, but they still continue every single day to fight for that brighter future that they want to see in the world. As well as many, I was talking with a friend here in Muncie, Indiana, and you know they're worried about ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, and even though they are documented, they are an American citizen, they have many family members that are not. And even though they have their paperwork, they always carry around like their passport, for instance, even though they are documented, or as the other side will say, legal. No one is illegal on on land. Of course, no human being is illegal, but they're scared. They carry around their paperwork every single day in their purse or in their pockets because they are scared that a masked federal agent is going to take them away from their family. So we live in very significant times. Like we are living through, we're watching history play out right before us. And if you don't get involved, you know, we have to bend the arc of the universe towards justice. And there's a lot of people trying to bend it towards injustice. So there's a lot of different stories that I've, or people that I've encountered that have changed my perspective, or, influenced my perspective more so on the American immigration system, American systemic inequalities. It turns out that centuries of slavery in this nation and then 100 years of segregation did not undo the racism, and that racism is still found in our legal systems. It's still found in society. If you go out there now, I'm not saying not everyone is going to go out there and be like the worst, like grotesque American you could see online, but it's out there. And so it's just something to be cognizant of, and something that we have to change the nation on. We have to influence that change and change people's hearts and minds. So, yeah, these are just some of the things that come to mind.
I want to exaggerate that when we say somebody is an immigrant, we're not talking about the immigrant status. We're not talking if they are documented, not documented, because like you said yourself right now, people are citizens and they are being discriminated and prosecuted. But we are all immigrants. We all identify and come from the same source. And at Miss Immigrant USA, we say we are all immigrants. Let's share love with each other.
Yes.
So this what you're saying, Jackson. This is very close to our hearts, and we would love all of us to unite. It doesn't matter where if your family came 3-5 generations before, or the slavery or some other situations. We are all one after all, and
Yes.
that's how we should lead. We are all the same people coming from the same source.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. They want to talk about race. I believe there is one race, and that is the human race. So we got to stand with our brothers and sisters and our friends to have a brighter for me, you get one life. There's no reason to be, purposely prejudiced, or, to treat people with hate. Just treat people with love as they deserve. The golden rule, like do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that would change that would change the world if everyone lived according to that.
Yes. What are the biggest issues facing Indiana's 5th district right now?
Healthcare is a huge one. Healthcare is a huge industry, and as well as many people don't have any health insurance. With the recent One Big Beautiful Bill, it cut 18 million people off their Medicaid. And the person I'm running to replace, now I'm running as a Democrat, they are currently a Republican. They voted for this bill in Congress, in line with President Trump. So, and I'm fighting against that, of course. But healthcare is a human right. All what I'm calling for is to catch up with the rest of the developed world. Where there's 33 developed nations, we're the only one that doesn't treat healthcare as a human right. Where it just like comes out of the rich people's taxes, basically. And then when you're sick, you don't have to worry about going bankrupt. Or when you have back pain, or like a heart attack or something, you don't have to go to the hospital and then take out like bankruptcy. You don't have to worry about like missing a meal because you wanted to go get checked out. So what I'm fighting for, as I mentioned, is Medicare for all. Just right currently, Medicare is includes 65. Like if you're 65 and older, you get Medicare, you get health care, but it does not include dental, vision. Oh, my camera fell down.
No problem.
It does not include dental, vision, or hearing. So what I'm fighting for is to include dental, vision, and hearing,
Mm-hmm.
and just lower that age from 65. And it's a transition program to lower that age. So, and then we would catch up with the rest of the developed world. You shouldn't have a shiver down your back because you have a little bit of back pain. You should just go get treated. And the only reason why we don't have that kind of system, well, we don't have like what basically everyone else in the whole world has, developed nations, is because American politics is uniquely corrupted. We, the big health insurance lobby, big pharma, they spend a lot of money on politicians' campaigns, their election campaigns. And then when that politician gets elected, it's as if they owe them favors. It's like, oh, like, or if they want that money again for reelection, because you're up for reelection every 2 years. It's a very quick timetable. So if you want to get that money again, they don't want to be on the other side of some of these issues as they're large, like very wealthy donors. So they stay quiet on these important issues. They don't make sure they cut, like as I mentioned the bill before, they cut to give profits to the private corporations because these people get kicked off government healthcare, and then they are forced to pay extra on the private healthcare, the corporate healthcare. So we have to make sure that we take care of people's health care, like their human rights. We have to make sure that we get money out of politics. I'm calling to overturn Citizens United, which is a 2010 Supreme Court decision about campaign finance. It equated giving money as freedom of speech, like giving money to your, a congressperson or, someone running a politician, right? But if money equals freedom of speech, whoever's the wealthiest has the loudest voice. And that's not democracy, that's oligarchy. That is rule of the rich, rule of the few, and not rule of the people this government is supposed to govern in the first place. So these are some of the main issues that I'm running on, as well as like women's rights, expanding democracy, no more foreign wars, affordability, making sure that, you can afford groceries for your family, afford rent, or buying a house. People in my generation, especially, not exclusively, but especially, we've lost all hope of ever really owning a home in the current era. Like most of us are renting because of the 2008 financial crisis and the housing crisis, the bubble that popped out Wall Street. And it was us working class taxpayers that bailed out Wall Street with our taxpayer money. And I think after all this time, I think it's time that Wall Street bail out the working class. And if we tax them just a little bit, 1% on bond trades and 0.5% on the stock trades between themselves, we would have enough money to completely wipe out tuitional debt, student debt, for more than 45 million Americans across the country. So these are just some of the things that are coming to my mind immediately, that issues that are pressing the people in not just Indiana's 5th district, but across this entire nation.
When I listen to you, Jackson, I'm like, is he really 26? Or maybe like somebody with 20 years of experience?
I appreciate that.
How
Thank you.
how did you get so passionate? How did you start your journey with politics and being so involved and get so much knowledge how things work and what needs to be done. You're just 26. Most people your age, they are just somewhere on social media or, watching movies, not even reading books nowadays.
Right. So I've been very involved for the last 10 years. Yeah, and if you do the math, I was 16. So still quite young. So I was always very passionate about history. My major was in American history. So and politics is just current history. So it's kind of an easy sidestep of like,
Right.
eventually you catch up, on
You
a broad
understand,
sense.
you understand how actually what is the mechanism and how it all works.
Yeah, the history of these laws, the history of everything that's been going on. Most things, not everything. I'm not that smart, but yeah. So in 2016, it was the presidential year, and Bernie Sanders came to the great Hoosier state of Indiana, and I saw him speak, and I knew it's sometimes often like you don't realize how bad we have it here in America until you look at some of these other nations. Now we have it good in a lot of measures, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but it's not an excuse that like, oh yeah, well, why is there so many people below the poverty line? Why are so many people like veterans houseless, for instance? That these are things like, yes, we're America, there is a higher quality, but saying, even way back then, 10 years ago, why does every other developed nation have health care or like paid family leave? In America, if you have a child born or adopted, you are not guaranteed time to spend that time with your child or children. I'm fighting for that right. I'm fighting for healthcare as well as like paid sick time off. So these are some of the things that Bernie Sanders mentioned to me back when a little 16-year-old Jackson Franklin here in Indiana, and he won the state of Indiana in that year, that presidential primary. And not only did he win the state of Indiana, he won all 6 counties of the here in the fifth district, the district I am running for. So a populist message is something that's very powerful in Indiana and across all across this nation. But Indiana is a Rust Belt state. We had a lot of jobs leave here because of NAFTA and many other bills. And so we're gonna have to have a working class vision to actually get out of the mess that we're in now. But as far as like Bernie Sanders influencing me greatly as I continue, I even have his book right here. Uh, so, but I've just been involved, knocking doors in my community, helping out previous congressional campaigns. It was a few years ago. I was 22. I was a policy advisor for someone running in this district, like this exact same race. Uh, but so I've been thinking about federal policy for a while. Deploying overseas, of course, gets you to think about like worldwide politics and
Mhm.
national politics. But the reason why I guess I stepped up is because of my healthcare stories on the ambulance and just seeing the vacancy. Like no one's speaking up in this area for that. So on the ambulance, something that I live with every single day that I think about quite frequently is I took veterans, so people I look up to as a soldier currently. I've taken veterans from the hospital back to their homes to die because they did not want to put their families in medical bankruptcy, which is the number one form of bankruptcy all across this nation. So I believe
You know,
we should have a nation that takes care of those that took care of us. There's no reason whatsoever that we cannot take care of our veterans and people all across the country. It's not just veterans. It's,
but I will
yeah.
interrupt you. So this is really bad, even if the veterans are in this situation.
Mhm. Yeah, people who did not make retirement. Like if you spend 20 years in the military, you get to retire from the military. But some people that go overseas, they serve one, contract. They're in like 4 or 6 years or something. You know, they go overseas, they fight the battles, they come home, and then they live in poverty because it's really hard to acclimate. Being in that intense situation and then coming back home and it's like, all right, well, what like job skills do you have? Like, you're a young, person, 18, you spent your from 18 to let's say like 24, all you know is how to shoot Like it's really hard to like, oh yeah, just like go be a tech guy instantly. No, you can't. You have to like, learn those skills. You're starting back at plate one, and also you have a very hard time in a civilian environment, because of your experiences in the military and overseas. So a lot of veterans, there's a significant portion of the houseless community, the homeless community,
Mhm.
that are veterans. It's disproportionate. It's way bloated. Like if 1% of the population ever joined the military, and it's somewhere around 1%, but our houseless population is way higher than that. And I don't have the number memorized, but it's significantly higher. So it's an odd thing. But yeah, it's just some of those experiences that have like led me to step up. And I'm like, I can't wait until someone else, like for someone else to do it wrong or not fight for these things. I want to fight for these. This is some of the things that got me involved.
When Kyle is not doing politics, what are some things that you like to do in your spare time, enjoy just for yourself?
Yeah. Well, recently, this is a bad time to ask because right now it's just all
Yes.
politics right before the election. But of course, I like going to the gym. It's like ironically enough, it's like where I like go to relax.
Yes.
I just like I turn my brain off. You know, and I also like reading books. I like audiobooks. I like playing video games, and I have a golden retriever named Levi. I love that dog. The most spoiled dog on the planet. I could not be convinced otherwise. But and I love spending time with my family and my friends.
Kyle, before we close, I'm sorry, Kyle, not Kyle, Jackson, before we close, we like to ask our guests to share a wisdom. What is something that you, in your short, young, beautiful, energetic life, you learned and you came to realize that you would like to share with people and you would like to know them so we can inspire them?
That you're not alone. That though times are hard, there are people fighting for you, genuinely wishing you the best. And I think civil rights leader John Lewis said it the best, that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. It's up to us to organize that power and fight for the vision that we all believe in and the values that we know we all deserve in our government. So organizing that, getting the community together is probably one of the most important things that I am trying to do in my life, and that hope to inspire into you, that together, like we're like being together, like as a community, that's our superpower. That's our way out. If you have problems, you have people. If you see injustices in the world, there's nothing that a very committed group of people cannot accomplish, and you just fight. Now justice does not come immediately, and it's as they say, it never comes on time, but it's coming, and you got to make sure you got to fight for the justice that you want to see in the world. And yeah, stay hopeful. I have genuine optimism for our future, revolutionary optimism, so to take care of our people and the people across the world. So just uh, keep the faith, I guess, of like change is going to come and that you are not alone.
As your primaries in today's, what in today's, where we can go, how we can support you, what still people can do?
So May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, is our primary election day here in Indiana. And if you go to jacksonfranklinforcongress.com, you can learn more about our campaign. We are the continuation of the Bernie Sanders campaign, making sure we, get money out of politics, fight for health care, tax the rich, all these things we've talked about in this podcast. A primary, by the way, because some people don't know, is that's not the big election in the fall where, Democrat versus Republican. The primary is the inner party election. So you go up to vote and they're like, which ballot do you want? Do you want to vote in the Democratic primary or the Republican primary? And then once you pull the Democratic primary to vote for me, of course, you it's just Democrats vote like against Democrats or alongside Democrats,
Mhm.
and you vote whoever wins that nomination to go on to the fall. And really appreciate all of your support to make sure that we have a system that right now we have a profits over people system in America, and our campaign slogan is proudly saying people over profits. We got to take care of our people. And all the world's eyes are on this district. The nation's eyes are on the 5th district of Indiana because we are the biggest swing district of the state. Uh, a lot of other areas are what we call gerrymandered. We know that one's going to go Democrat. We know that one's going to go Republican. The 5th district is a swing district. So if we can win here in Indiana, we can take back the House of Representatives and we can actually get policies done. We could stop the bleeding that the current administration, in my opinion, has caused, and we can actually impeach Donald Trump, hold many of the war criminals responsible, and making sure that we have a nation of, by, and for the people, not just of, by, and for the billionaire class, a nation that truly represents all of us and not just the top 1%. So I'd appreciate your support. Make sure if you live in the 5th district or just anywhere in Indiana, or I believe Ohio as well has primaries, make sure you get out and vote. And I'd appreciate your support.
Thank you. Thank you, Jackson. And we will follow you, and you have a long career in front of you. So for sure, we're going to see each other again.
Right on. Thank you so much. Oh, and also, last second, go to our social media. Just type in Jackson Franklin for Congress on any social media app, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever. But I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jackson. Bye.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Take care.